summarize maybe a couple of students from your group?
Yeah, so we basically, the general idea was not to single out people, to mostly just kind of in an indirect way try to create a friendly atmosphere and, make a more environment which is suiting for the Japanese people, not to just, directly correct them or put them on the spot, just more as a, just leaning them in. And we have a couple of points and not singling out students, starting with casual conversation so people introduce themselves, making a template for introducing themselves. There is like, my name is blank, I'm interested in blank, nice to meet you. So they can more practice English, to be punctual, be on time, use clear, simple English, and again, not to correct them, not to put them on the spot, so they can feel more welcoming and not feel shame.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think it's important not to pressure the students too much, right? Yeah. So, yeah, I think it's some really great ideas. Yeah, thank you. It sounds like you had a good discussion in your group. You've come up with some good points. Thank you very much for summarizing them.
Thank you.
Yeah, very relevant points. Okay, let's go to room 2. And I'm going to ask Charles, would you like to summarize Mr. Ligaya?
Okay, thank you for that, Ryan. So, our group is composed of four people. We have Sheen from China, Otik from Indonesia, and the last one is Julia from Brazil. So, we've decided to answer first question. The things that we should do as a group leader. First is we have to be patient, share and help our students. We should have a positive thinking, or we should think positively. And that last is telling story, introduce ourselves, and it's like a building rapport or making connections with the student. And for the things that we should not do as a group leader, or we should avoid, we should not be easily angry to our students, avoid making them feel isolated, and we should not ignore them. Don't make them feel that they are not, or you are not interested with them, and avoid talking faster.
Right.
That's all. Thank you for my team for their input.
Yeah. No, thank you to you and your team. Thank you for summarizing. Yeah, you mentioned patience at the beginning. Yeah, I think having patience will be important, especially at the beginning of the program. The students will be shy; they may not be speaking as much as you expect at the beginning. So be patient with them, help them, support them, and they will naturally, as the program progresses, they will open up more. Right, especially if you create that nice positive atmosphere for them. So yeah, really good points. Thank you, Charles, for summarizing. Okay, let's go to room 3, and I'm going to ask, is it G? Is that right?
Hi.
Hi.
Okay. So basically, for what we should do, so we start from something basic like be punctual, be on time, of course, right? And secondly, I think we need to be like friendly to make student like relaxed and can share us. So the place that we are also like a facilitator in a sense, but for a small group. So we need to try to make everyone can speak and also form their relationships. And another one is like take care of everyone. There might be some students who behind, who be quiet, be silent, who are scared of talking to new people. We might need to facilitate this issue. So that basically for what we should do, and for what we shouldn't. So we think about like general rules. For example, don't invade student privacy, don't their pictures without their consent. Um, do not use do not use smartphone in the class. Be attentive, something like that.
Yeah, good. Great, thank you. Yeah, some really good points there as well. Yeah, I think regarding the use of smartphones in the class, like obviously we don't want you to be texting or on Instagram or calling somebody in the class, right? But It's okay if you want to use it as a tool to show students pictures or something like that. If you're trying to explain something from your country, you can quickly give a photo and show them and say, okay, this is what I'm talking about, and then put your phone away. That's fine. But yeah, if you need to make calls or text or anything, please do that in the staff room. But yeah, again, really good points. Thank you for summarizing there. Okay, last but not least, room 4. And who have I heard from in here? Nabila, to share.
Okay, so we're from the group 4. First, I will summarize what we discussed in the group. First, we need to know how to embrace them in the conversation. So we need to be relaxed and not too nervous, because if we are nervous, group leaders, and how about the students? Especially Japanese students, right? They are quite shy and reserved, and we have to make them be more open. And a second is we have to treat them fairly. Don't try to make them feel compared, because every student, they have their own skills, or how can I say, personality. And we know that teenagers are quite sensitive with comparison, and if we make them feel like they are compared with others, they make them feel worse about themselves, and it can make them go back to their own cage or shells. And yeah, and then last is about try to not push them too much in communication. Like I've mentioned before, Japanese students tend to be more quiet and shy. We have to try to engage with them with their own pace. So it's not like we don't try to take them out from the comfort zone, but slowly, like that. We don't have to rush like that, because we need to have more understanding about their own situation, and try to engage with them based on the, how can I say, yeah, based on each person personality, like that. I think we can tell about each other's personality when we meet them. Yeah.
Right.
That's
Yes.
our summarize.
Good.
Thank you.
Yeah, great. I like that. Yeah. So each student, of course, is unique. They have their different ways of learning, different levels of English. Some might be more shy than others. So yeah, once you get to know them, get to talk, build a bit of connection with them, you'll understand which students are stronger, which need more support, and maybe you can even pair stronger and weaker students together in your group. So,
Yes.
yeah, great. Yeah, thank you so much, Nabila.
Yes.
All right. So really fantastic ideas, guys. Thank you to everyone for your discussion and the points you've shared. I think everything here is really, really useful, and yeah, some really valuable points there that we can use in the classroom. So really great. It's really great to hear that from all of you. And yeah, you've identified a lot of the points that I had prepared, so we can fly through those quickly, which is fantastic. Maybe there's a couple of extra things I will add to what you guys have said here. The first one was being prepared, right? And maybe this also connects to what Nabila said about having confidence. Is if you understand the program, right, you can be more confident talking about it. So make sure you are prepared. We generally send the material and the information about the program 1 to 2 weeks before the program, so you have time to look through the material and see, okay, what are we doing on day 1 and day 2 and day 3? And so you can familiarize yourself with that, get ready. And yeah, so if you know the material well, then it'll be easy for you to, handle it with the students. So make sure you're ready. Yeah, we talked about positivity, being enthusiastic. So whatever positivity and enthusiasm you put into your group, you're going to get that back from the students, right? So yeah, always keep a positive attitude. Yeah, and I heard the words, being attentive, right? We've talked about that. So yeah, just being friendly, being somebody who the students feel okay to approach and ask you questions. Right? A few other points. Trying to confirm student understanding. So sometimes, we've talked about Japanese students being shy. Sometimes they're too nice as well, and they don't want to say something negative. So if you ask them, "Oh, do you understand what we're doing?" and sometimes they just kind of nod at you. They don't say anything; they'll just nod at you, even if they don't actually understand. So it's a good idea to try and confirm their understanding, either by asking some simple follow-up questions or yes or no questions to see if they are following along. So you can begin with some simple ones. sometimes the facilitator might explain something and then they say, okay, group leaders and students, yeah, let's go, let's work on this. And then the students, some of them may still not quite understand. So make sure each member of your group is understanding. For some students or some group leaders and some facilitators, I've seen them use like a thumbs up in the middle and a thumbs down for their students. So they can just, even if they don't want to say anything, they can say, yes, I got it, or no, I don't understand, or kind of in the middle, kind of. So you can quickly judge from your group where they're at if you want to use that kind of system as well. Some students, they find it easier to do that than to explain. So yeah, please feel free to do that if you want to. Yeah, always be communicating, right, with your facilitator, with the ISA staff that are at the program. You know, they're there to support you. Yeah, the facilitator, if you're having any issues with students or if you have any questions about the material, the facilitator knows the material as well. So please feel free to ask them about that. Right? And if you have any suggestions or you need some advice from them, I'm sure they'll be happy to help you. Yeah, lastly, enjoy yourselves, right? So enjoy your time with your facilitator, with the other group leaders that you'll meet at the program, and of course with your students as well. I think if you go into the program with, you know, a positive mindset of, yeah, not only just, you know, sharing, but also enjoying your time there in the program and learning from the students as well, that I think, you know, it makes the whole atmosphere more positive and you'll have a good time in the program as well. So as for the don'ts, we covered this one, very, very important in Japan. Don't be late, make sure you're on time for the meeting time. And then of course, on time when you're going back to your classroom after a break or after lunchtime, things like that. Really, really important. Yeah, we talked about a little bit maybe about privacy, but I also wanted to mention personal space, right? So in Japan, you know, kind of physical touch and things, especially people you're not familiar with, it's not very common, right? So please respect their personal space as well. Yeah, that might make some students feel uncomfortable if you get close to them or like put your hand on their shoulders and things. So yeah, please be aware of that. And lastly, it's just about pointing. Yeah, I think in Japan, it can be a little bit rude if you use your finger to point at people and say, oh, what do you think? What do you think? Using this kind of gesture can be considered a little bit rude. So you can use an open palm. That's okay. So, oh, how about you? Or, you know, what do you think? Doing it this way to direct to people as well. And yeah, of course, use their names as well. Okay, so please be aware of those. Yeah, this one, I do have to remind group leaders sometimes, even after they've done a few programs with us, is to be careful of how much you are talking. When it comes to a discussion, we want to encourage the students to talk as much as possible, right? And it can be easy sometimes to take over the discussion as well and maybe talk a little bit too much, right? So please really be aware of how much time you are spending talking, right? You shouldn't, ideally, you should not be talking more than the students are talking, right? We want to try and get the balance to that. You're introducing a topic or giving an example, and then you're listening to all the students' ideas, right? So encourage them to speak more than you are. Of course, on day one, that's a bit challenging because they're shy, but as the program goes on, when you're doing discussions, please just be conscious of how much time you're speaking and try and get them speaking as much as possible. Okay, last one, about mistakes. This was mentioned earlier too. We don't really need to correct their grammatical mistakes. You know, this isn't an English grammar lesson, right? So don't worry too much when they make mistakes. We actually encourage the students to make mistakes, right? So, and that's okay. They shouldn't be afraid of making mistakes. Because generally in a regular, you know, Japanese school, in their regular classes, they're kind of expected to always give the correct answer, right, to their teachers. They're afraid of saying the wrong thing, but we should tell them it's okay, right? Just share what you think. If you make mistakes, it's not a problem. And yeah, we're not going to correct all of their minor grammatical errors, right? You know, this would be time consuming and also it might reduce their confidence, right? As long as you can understand what they're saying. And they're communicating with you, they're getting their point across. That's the main thing. Yeah, I don't think this will be an issue, but everyone here is an adult, so I presume you wouldn't spread rumors or things like that, you know, during the program. I guess the one thing I see sometimes is if a group leader is struggling with a student or if they have a disagreement with a group leader or a facilitator or something, and they might stop talking about that. in a place where students can hear them as well, like in the hallway of the school or something like that. So, if you do have issues, please be careful about where you talk about that. And you could talk to the staff directly, right? Or you can contact us if you have any problems. Just be careful about what you say and where you're saying that. Okay. And lastly, please do not exchange any contact information with the students whatsoever. Okay? Whether that's email or Line or Facebook, Instagram, whatever social networking, that's completely against the rules. These students are still minors, right? They're not adults, so that makes it even more serious if this happens. So, we do take this very seriously, and the schools will take it very seriously as well. So if they do ask you, and sometimes they will ask you, hey, do you have Instagram or do you have Line or do you have some things, you could just say, sorry, it's against the rules. I can't exchange with you. Okay. And just leave it at that. All right, great. We could fly through that because you guys identified a lot of those points, which is fantastic. So we'll move on to our next point here. And first thing I have for you is a question about student comprehension. So have you ever had problems with student comprehension in a group? Maybe some of you have some teaching experience, or maybe you've done a similar program to ISA. So maybe you have this experience where you're trying to explain something in English, right? And the students are looking lost, or they don't understand what you're trying to say. And even if you don't have teaching experience, I'm sure you've spoken either to your classmates in Japan, or maybe your lab mates, if you work in a lab here at your university. You've tried to explain something, right? You talk to them in English, and they're not quite understanding, your point. So in this situation, what are some things we can do here? So how can you handle this? Or in other words, what ideas or techniques do you have to help students to understand you? Or maybe things that you have already tried in your previous experiences as well that you think have helped. I want to ask a few of our members here their experiences with this. So, Minuta, have any ideas? Help students understand you. And I should clarify, not using Japanese, outside of using Japanese, because we try to avoid that. What are some other things we can do? Sorry, I can't hear you. You're muted.
Sorry. With Japanese out of the way, the easiest would be maybe gestures, using gestures, and also pictures. If there is a paper and a pen, you can try to draw things to illustrate it as simple as possible. I think integrating some of the simple English words with those gestures and pictographic writings could help, although it might not be definite.
No, I think that's good. So like some non-verbal communication, gestures, pictures. You'll always have paper and pens that you can use. So sometimes even just writing a word down.
They might understand it.
So when you're saying it, they go, huh? But then when you write it, they go, oh yeah, I know that word, right? So, or you can draw a picture or something. Some students are more visual learners, right? They find it easier to look at something as well as listening to it. So good ideas. Thank you. Okay, Sundas, what ideas do you have?
I think the previous speaker got all the points, but with the help of gestures and to be friendly, help of gesture and visual representation, as she told that sometimes I have seen many Japanese that if they cannot speak English well, they try to use their hands. And after coming here, I am also like good at gestures. Like if they don't understand, so I use my hands to understand them. So I think this is the best, by using gestures and to with visual representation, to show them visual representations.
Great. Okay, thank you. Okay, Julia, how about you?
I think you also said good examples. I maybe also using the examples in Japan, like there's a word in English and then they don't quite catch well, but there's kind of a meme. There's another word in Japanese, but you cannot use Japanese, so use an example, trying to illustrate and see if they catch the meaning. Also, I think is one of the situational reviews. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I think examples are a really good way of explaining something to students, especially if it's an example of something maybe that they could relate to, yeah, in Japan or in their everyday life as well. Yeah, that's actually one of the points on my list as well. Yeah, I definitely recommend giving the students an example because, yeah, if you explain too much, sometimes they can get more lost if you try to explain more. So a simple example can be really useful. Okay. Great. Yeah, I think you guys have identified a few of the key points that I have here, which is fantastic. So yeah, just in the interest of time, I'm going to keep going here. Yeah, we've talked a lot about this today already, right? So reducing the level of your English, so adjusting your English level, that means trying to use simpler vocabulary, right? So there's a simple example here of, you know, if you're using more complex words or unusual words, maybe massive to us seems quite normal, but I'm sure the students have studied the word massive in a textbook somewhere, where for a test, but they probably don't use it every day, so they've probably forgotten. So more commonly used words or simpler words, like for example, you know, saying something is really big, is going to be easier to understand than using gigantic or massive or things like that, right? So yeah, try to reduce your English level if the students are struggling, and of course, speak very, very slowly. We've talked about that already today. It's great. And Julia just mentioned giving examples, right? So yeah, sometimes the more you try to explain something, the less the students understand if you're adding more and more detail, right? So you can lose them a little bit, even though you're trying hard to explain something. So sometimes you want to maybe take a step back and think, okay, what is an easy example that I can give to the students that might help them understand what I'm trying to say, right? Or explain. So for example, if we're talking about the environment, right? Maybe we have the question to the students, oh, what do you do to help the environment? Or, you know, or what do you do to be more green? And the students might think, oh, they don't know exactly what that means, right? So you could give them an example like this, like say, okay, for example, when I go to 7-Eleven or Family Mart, right? When I go to the convenience store, I never ask for a plastic bag, right? I take my own bag that I can reuse, right? An eco bag. And that's how I try to help the environment. So how about you, right? And ask the students. And then I think by listening to that example, they think, oh, eco bag, not using plastic. Oh, okay, I understand. And then they can talk about things that maybe they do to help the environment as well. So yeah, I think, again, trying to find a simple, easy to follow example can help a lot in this situation. So try to use that. Other things, yeah, give students thinking time, right? Don't be afraid or don't panic if they don't speak right away, right? I've seen some group leaders, they get a bit panicked when the students don't say anything, but give them a bit of time to process the question. Sometimes all they need is just a little bit of thinking time, right? And so they listen to the question and then they process and they're trying to think about, okay, how do they want to say it in English? So don't be afraid to give them a little bit of space to think first before they start talking, okay? Yeah, we talked about nonverbal communication, yeah, which was just mentioned a few moments ago, right? So using diagrams, using gestures to aid understanding. Make sure to use their names. All of the students will have a name tag, so you can see their names at all times. So when you're addressing them as well, it helps them feel part of the group too. Yeah, and lastly, my last point is just about, again, your speaking time. I talked about this a bit earlier, but I'm repeating it now because it's something that happens quite often. The kind of ideal or the perfect ratio of like group leader speaking time to student speaking time, or even in our other programs, teacher speaking time to student speaking time is 20-80. This is actually quite a difficult goal, as you can imagine, to only have you speaking 20% and students 80%. But that's kind of the goal we always try to aim for. Try to get as close to 20% as you can. Of course, as I said earlier, day one, you're going to be talking a bit more because the students are going to be shy, and that's fine. But yeah, in the back of your mind, always try to be aiming for this ratio, right? And get the students, at very least, get them talking more time than you are talking in the group, right? Because there are going to be 5 or 6 of them, and if you're talking more than they are, the balance is quite off, right? So encourage them to speak as much as you can. Okay. Right. So, yeah, thank you again, everybody, for your input and for sharing there. So we've looked at kind of some of the do's and don'ts of being a group leader. We've looked at some tips there, things that we can try in the classroom. And now we're going to take a look at a couple of demo videos, right? As I said, we have a couple of around 5 minutes or so. I'm going to show you 2 demo lessons. And yeah, I'd like you to watch each group leader. So 2 different group leaders and 6 students in the group. And yeah, really observe what the group leader is doing with the group, how they are handling their group, how they're introducing the topic and things like that. Yeah, please write down some notes about what you like, okay, the good points that you see there and things that need to be worked on. And then after we have watched both of these videos, we'll get into our groups and we'll have a discussion about them, okay? So one thing I will mention before we watch the videos is the students in these videos are very, very high level. So when you actually go to a junior high school or high school in Japan, your students will likely be quite a bit lower than the students in these videos. But the most important thing is to see how is the group leader handling it, okay? So yeah, let me just prepare these videos for you guys. Please, yeah, get ready to take some notes. Okay, well, let's watch first group leader together.
Good morning, everyone. How are you? Great. Yeah. Did you all eat breakfast today? Yeah. What did you eat for breakfast? Udon. Wow, breakfast. Okay. How about you? What did you eat for breakfast? Just one slice of bread. Nice. How do you eat your slice of bread? With butter. Oh, the slow. Oh, special toast. Nice. How about you? What did you eat for breakfast? Nice. How about you? Nice. How about you? What's Hokkaido? Some rice and basically soup. Like a rice soup. Yeah. Oh, so like in English, I think we call it porridge. Porridge. Yeah. Hokkaido porridge. Nice. New vocabulary. Yeah. How about you? I just had a cup of coffee. Nice. Me too. So everyone's awake? No? Okay. So we're going to start today's session and we're going to be talking about leadership. Okay? Just like yesterday, it's going to be in English. Okay? But it's okay. Let's do our best and have, ask a lot of questions and share our opinion. Okay? Sounds good? Okay. So the first question I have is, who do you think is a good leader? Who do you think is a good leader? It's a little bit tricky. It's a little bit difficult question, right? So let's think first, okay? What makes a good leader? Let's start thinking. What makes a good leader? Let me give you an example. I believe a good leader is very good at listening. Okay? So you have a leader and he or she has many teammates, team members, and the leader has to listen to the team members' opinions and then make the decision, right? So good leader has good listening skills. Okay? So let's think, what makes a good leader? How about you? What's your name? I'm Bill. I think a good leader has a sort of charisma, sort of a draw. It attracts people. So charisma, kind of like this positive energy around them that attracts people, right? Good. I like that answer. Nice. How about you? What's your name? I'm Keith Hamaru. I believe a good leader, somebody who's like sensitive about their team members. Someone who's sensitive. Yeah, that's true. Because sometimes your team members might have a good day, maybe a bad day, right? They might make some mistakes. We have to be patient with them. Yeah, very good. I like that. Sensitive. Yeah. Anyone else? How about any other volunteers? What makes a very good leader. Sure. Yeah, please. What's your name? Minami. Please.
I think the leader should be motivated.
Oh.
Because the leader always have to lead the team motivation and passions to work together, collaborate together.
Yeah, that's true. I love that. They must have a lot of good motivation. And that's actually connected to Hiroto's answer, right? They need to be able to have charisma, that positive energy, right? That's great. Awesome. Anyone else? Wants to share? Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. What's your name?
I'm Yuri.
Yuri, thank you. Please.
I think the good leader needs to judge people fairly and equally because they sometimes need to make decisions about who gets promoted or who gets fired and so on. So I think they need to judge fairly and based on facts rather than his or her own opinion of those people.
Right, very true. And that's actually really connected to your answer about being sensitive, right? Because again, if you want to make good judgment, you can't use your own opinions only. You have to be sensitive to many other people's as well, right? So that's all very good examples, right? We need charisma, you need to be motivated, sensitive, and make good judgment, right? How about you? Would you like to share? Anything's fine. There's no good or there's no right or wrong answers here.
Elon Musk or some other entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs, they all have some degree of innovative. How do you say innovative idea? They're all creative.
Nice. I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name. What's your name?
Aya.
You gave a really good example, Elon Musk, right? Elon Musk, he started, if you don't know, Elon Musk, he founded many companies such as Tesla, which was actually based in my hometown in San Francisco. Yeah. So again, that's a really good skill. They need to be innovative. They need to be creative, right?
Okay. All right, we're going to stop video number 1 there. Okay, so that was group leader number 1. I hope you took some notes. So let's look at group leader number 2.
Morning, everybody. How are you guys? Good? Yes. And you? Great. Good. Great. Good. Good, good. So welcome to day 3. And please ask me, how am I? I'm terrible. Last night, I got a call from my professor, and my dissertation was refused. So I had to stay up until 4 o'clock working on it. So I'm not in a very good mood today. So I hope you guys can cheer me up along the way, okay? So today we're going to talk about leadership, okay? So who do you think is a good leader? Who do you think is a good leader?
I think Donald Trump.
Trump, okay. And who do you think is a good leader?
Creative person.
Sorry?
Creative.
A creative person. And who do you think is a good leader?
Elon Musk.
Elon Musk, okay. And how about you?
A good listener.
Okay, so good listener. And you?
Hopefully Kim Jong.
Who?
Kim Jong.
Kim Jong-un. Oh, really? Okay. So, the question, guys, who do you think is a good leader, okay? So we're talking about people, okay? Not qualities of people, okay? So one more time, what did you think?
Kim Jong.
Kim Jong-un and
Donald Trump.
Trump?
Elon Musk.
Elon Musk, okay. So those are people, okay? So people are what we're looking for, okay? So do you have a different answer? Who? Abe. So Mr. Abe. Okay, and? No idea. That's not a person.
The president.
All the countries. Okay. So we have Mr. Trump here. Who agrees Mr. Trump is a good leader? Nobody? Why not? Why isn't he a good leader? He's too aggressive. Okay, and? Selfish. And?
I think he's quite extremist, so he divided the whole country up.
I see. Okay. But maybe you think Trump's a good leader because you think everybody who runs the country is a good leader.
He has a good plan as well, but I don't know the whole.
Okay, that's fine. And
He's kind of arrogant.
he's arrogant. Okay. But you think he's a good leader. Why do you think he's a good leader?
Well, I like the way he talks. He's very aggressive. He's very American first. You know, he's that classic American.
Okay.
Red, white, and blue.
Red. Okay, I see. So, who do you think is a better leader? Biden or Trump? Who do you think is a better leader?
Like, if you work with a private company, you want somebody like Donald Trump because he can make like really new decisions in some sense. But like, in terms of like working for the country and like being the president of the United States, I think Biden could be better than Trump. But I don't know if not Biden.
So not Biden or Trump. How about Clinton?
I don't know, like he did some like
How about Obama?
I think it was good, but like some people say that he didn't like really do much for Afghanistan and he ignored the Ukraine being attacked by Russia back in 2014. So I really don't know if he's a good leader because everyone has like flaws in them. So
Do you agree with that? Say something.
I think, well, in terms of like Mr. Biden, I think he's a walking corpse. He doesn't seem like he's in control of anything. And for President Obama, I think he's not really qualified for anything because he proved a lot of people he's involved in.
Okay. I understand. All right. So my opinion, guys, I don't think Trump's a good leader either. Okay? And basically for all the same reasons that you guys said. Okay? All right, we're going to stop video number 2 there. Okay? So quite a contrast, I think, between 2 videos. So, yeah, I'd like you to have a discussion with your group members, okay, about video 1 and video 2, and what you saw, things that you liked, things that maybe you disliked, okay, and maybe compare the 2 together. And then we'll come back here and, yeah, share our ideas with the main group. So I'll give you 7 minutes for discussion here. So it's 11 o'clock now, so let's say 11:08, I'll get you to come back into this room, okay? So yeah, let me just get the rooms ready. Okay, enjoy your second group discussion.